Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Bold, Beautiful Borderline podcast. It's your host, Sarah, and today we have a returning guest. Tis the season of bringing back folks who it's been a couple of years. Paul was with us 2 years ago, and it was a great conversation around do I have borderline? What does that mean to live with borderline? And he's back because he recently started therapy, and it's been a very exciting journey, and I'm sure a very difficult and exhausting and anger-inducing journey at times, if I could guess, because that's the way it goes. But Paul, intro yourself and tell us what's been happening in the last 2 years since I saw you last.
What's up, everybody? Yeah, I'm Paul, and I was in the pod a couple years ago because I was losing my mind then, and I found your podcast, and it greatly helped. And I got invited onto the pod, and I'm like, why the hell not? Right? And since then, things have kind of shifted around the way that I teach because I am a Filipino martial artist and I teach my own brand or my own expression of martial arts, the way I understand violence, the way I understand healing, and also in that world of kind of how that marries in each other and kind of a somatic practice, I suppose you can say. Um, Aside from that, a lot of it has just been about survival, how I begin to manage my own mind, my a lot of emotions, and the board meetings that my brain and personalities go through about 10 times a day, going through just normal things in life that I'm pretty sure not many people go through. Um, yeah, but aside from that, the things have been interesting. Interesting. Uh, I lost my mind a few times after we spoke. I have then almost completely thought that I was a goner. At some points, it has become, or it has been quite arduous, is an understatement, let's say. It's been very dark. It's been extremely revelatory too. Um, Anger inducing and all of these things. And it's interesting that guys, you just know that I kind of was the one that bugged Sarah about coming back on because this year's a shift in the way I'm doing certain things and the way I'm beginning to understand myself too. Um, I still don't understand a lot, but it feels like I'm able to transmute some of the rage that was also spoken about in the last one, um, into something different, something a bit more helpful for me, and something a bit more, dare I say, productive. Not always. Some days you still want to punch people in the face, but I'm getting by. And coupled with the way I do my work, I'm able to see different personalities too, just like you as a therapist. And that can be tricky, um, in terms of the ones that become negative sources, I guess, or toxic sources too. So it's been about that.
The energy transfer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Transference is real.
Mm-hmm.
It's hella real. And it's so difficult to kind of, do I take it and bounce it back? Because if I bounce it back, I'm like, I'm a little bit more gangster than you are, bud. Like, you can
Yeah,
talk
are you
shit.
gonna
I can.
take some from me and I give it to you too? I didn't pay for this, coach. Like
No,
that wasn't the
exactly.
plan.
That wasn't the plan. Exactly. So it was like, there's a lot of it that I am very open to, depending on the person in front of me. It becomes a very intimate session because it's mostly one-on-ones too. It's I don't do a lot of classes. I host workshops and seminars once in a while, but most of the things that I do are based off of one-on-ones. So it's very, very intimate, movement-wise, constant chaos, constant pressure that I have to administer so that they're able to move and learn how to react to that chaos or be composed in that chaos. But in doing so, inadvertently or not, which is why these for years now I've been trying to do that very, very intentionally. That I become an inadvertent mirror to people. I don't know. Again, I'm not entirely sure if that's something that a lot of BPD people experience when because we feel so much, we experience so much of everything that everything seems to be, oh, I can bounce that back pretty easily too. It's just an instant thing. Um, so sometimes it does become very, very helpful for people. It becomes an extremely healing process. And I I try to avoid that word these days because it feels like a buzzword, but it is what it is, right? Like we are trying to mend wounds and we are trying to kind of tend to these things that I tend to go through. So one of the things that I think in the last couple of years that I've been trying to learn how to do, and this sucks still until now, but it's a little bit better, is to when things trigger me that I stop, kind of almost stop, drop, and roll, and kind of tuck for cover. And okay, what is this thing? What's going on? I mean, am I supposed to respond loudly? Am I supposed to respond quietly?
These are DBT skills.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And I am now inadvertently doing them without formally practicing DBT, without formally. And even one of my favorite things still is the counteraction thing. I forget the real term for it. But if I feel like, okay, I went down, maybe I put my TRX up, I started working out, my brain just goes, nah, you don't need it today. I'll just go back to bed. Or maybe just make some food or play a video game. One set. My brain just kind of goes, okay, one set. Just one set. I'll do one set and it'll say it again louder. I'm like, one more set. And then sometimes it's so bad that I'm like half a set. Half. If I'm doing 15, 20, I'm like five. Just do five. Five really slow reps. Feel every muscle that you're working out on and kind of like and stop there. Rest can be 2 minutes. Sometimes rest is 30 seconds. Sometimes rest is 15 minutes because, I end up having a smoke or I end up kind of like just, okay, I need to quiet my head. And my therapist has said this more than once. He goes, you're somebody who processes things so much that you need to learn how to stop. And I'm like, how? I like how? It's just like telling me to kind of go, hey, Paul, you just have to let that go. How? How? I, I have no grip on it. Like, I don't know how. Like, do I just move forward? What does that look like? I don't know. Like, there's certain things that seem very basic to many people that to me are like, I don't know how to do these things. And it ends up killing me some days, but some days I'm like, maybe there's no right answer. So that's been a big deal. Kind of,
Tell me about the journey to therapy, though, because when I saw you last, you hadn't started, and now you've been in therapy
yes.
for quite a while. So you decided,
Yeah.
I need to do therapy. You found a therapist. You got like, what? How did that go for you? Especially because I don't live in London, so I don't know exactly what that looks like there.
It's private. It's not HMO. But that's a wild story. That's because of a uh okay. I'm gonna try to be careful, but it's because of an ex-girlfriend that is a therapist herself. Ended up doing things in a very opposite way. I basically was left alone in a relationship for 9 months. And during that time, I, I've been very open about my traumas, my wounding, and all of these other things that I've been experiencing. I was very open about it from the start, if I'm not mistaken. I think even from the first day. Um, Ended up basically losing my mind, deep depression, extremely suicidal, um, self-harming, and it went back to self-harming in a way where it wasn't physical. It's one of those I don't get out of bed kind of self-harming. I don't communicate with people. I don't go out and try and reach out to people. It was it was a very dark time, extremely dark. Um, Finding the therapist was one of the things that was I was just like, I need help. And like I said it out loud too. Like I think I said it to one of my previous students. I was like, I need help. And um she gave me a a, a contact therapist, private therapist. I started doing therapy. And at first, my therapist, I contacted him and I was like, you know what? Um, if it's possible, I want to be able to see you in person because it's a big deal for me. Just because of the nature of my work too. It's like I'd love to be able to be in the same room, to actually feel the things and to just there's just a different way of connection. Um, it was not possible. She wasn't offering it at the time. So I ended up having to do online stuff, and I still do. And the part of the consistency isn't hard for me. It's every single week on the dot, same day, same time. I move around my whole schedule because of that therapy session. Um, Broke down multitude of times, melted down. And this is where I still believe until today that I would love to be in the same room as my therapist because I'm like, if I'm melting down, I kind of want to hug you after the session because you're there holding space, and I'm like, I need to thank you in some way. Um, so that whole process of learning about certain things about my trauma in the past as a child, fun fact or fun realization, I realized that I was not the black sheep of the family. I was basically the scapegoat of the family. I was the little guinea pig sacrifice.
That's a big difference. Those are very
And
different
it's
roles.
huge. It's huge. I was
Mhm.
the one that was told to stay there and stay put and just do what kind of like the main trauma inducer has been saying and do all these things. And
Mhm.
when I confronted, except for my dad, but when I confronted people about my, especially like my mom, it was one of those things. Oh, we can vape. Thank you, God. It's one of those things where it was one of those things where it was not obviously received well. And I even explained it to my mom. I was like, I know you don't have the tools for it, you don't have the language for it. So I was reading a book called Something in the Body. So like it was a very heavy book. Body Keeps Score. The Body Keeps Score. Such a heavy book. But I'm like, it's so poignant. It's so like I needed the information in that book. Um, Also learning that a lot of the things that he was saying, I was already doing for myself. Um, but again, building that language even for myself is still very important for me because without language of anything, I don't think I'd be this aware. Even if I was already hyper self-aware back then, it's different when I'm able to speak the same or a similar language to what people are experiencing. And it's one of those things where I gave it to my mom. Gave her, not give her a copy, but I told her the title and all of these things, and I hope you can read it. And, the response was very, you know, you just need the baby Jesus. Um,
So
I
validating, right? And mom wasn't meaning to be, but that's so invalidating.
No. Yeah. And she doesn't, and again, until now, she doesn't mean to be, but it's also very difficult for me to not speak to her without hostility because I feel that that's already how she sees me as you're just the angry kid and you just do what you want anyway. You're disrespectful. I'm like, those things come from somewhere. It doesn't come out of nowhere. And I explained that to her. But,
Can I
you
just
know,
say
yeah,
the amount of insight that you have right now today compared to 2 years ago is profound. Like, I don't
really.
remember our conversation in like the nooks and crannies of it because it was so long ago, but I can see the growth and the insight that you have today. I didn't feel that 2 years ago.
Dude,
Like,
that's
this is
huge.
amazing.
That's huge. That's huge because as one person that goes through a lot of invalidation or validation, I don't really get a lot of that. But every time that someone would tell me, "Oh, you're responding differently," it really does something. Like I want to cry, you know, like oh shit, like you're seeing something that I'm trying to do. Yeah, it's huge. Like one of those things that I realized that I didn't have is almost ever, and by the people that are supposed to be your main guardians, your main, raisers and carers and stuff, growing up is the validation of you can do what it is that you kind of want to do and not being put down for it. What I experienced was the complete opposite. What I experienced was you ain't shit kind of thing. What I experienced was that whole thing of like, oh, you did this, but you're not good at it. And I'm like, that's why with the martial arts, I think one of the main reasons why I really stuck with it, I'm like, I'm not gonna sit down and just buckle. I'm like, I'm gonna get so good at this thing that it's gonna be undeniable. We pay the price we pay the cost to the piper every time we do that thing we're trying to prove ourselves to somebody, whether subconsciously or not. And I think I've paid my debt, but at the same time, it's like one of those things where because I am passionate about what I do, it changes when people just see it for what it is rather than, oh, it should be this. And I'm like, I really get like taken aback by certain things, like when people kind of say that. So the validation is ginormous. It's something that I don't think that's one of the things that in the beginning of my therapy, just roping it back to that. Um, my therapist was like, "What do you need?" And I think that's one of the first things that I needed is just to be seen. It's so difficult to go out into the world when everything feels like it's caving in. And for the last, I don't know, 38, 39 years, I'm 40. I'm 41 this year. Jesus Christ. I'm old. Anyway, um, it's such a like it's so difficult to kind of and people don't really see that obviously because it's very internal. When I talk about to people where like, oh, everyone fights something you don't see, and we all fight our demons and stuff. That world has become so inundated with fakeness too. So people just dismiss it, or people just kind of, just do this. And I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how you get better at doing something. You have to get through the hard parts. And one of the hardest parts connected to that I've been having to do is when I feel shit, like crumbling head, tightened chest, all of these different things, the first thing I want to do is just rage or block it out, dissociate like a motherfucker, right? But through therapy, it has been helping that way greatly. Wherein can I sit there and make that thing feel own, like own it kind of thing. Some days it's still no. Some days I still just kind of block it out. Some days I'm like, I'm glad I have work today kind of day. But some days I am able to, you know, and one time out of 10 is a win for me. Um, because sometimes it's negative 10 out of 10, you know. There are more times that I lose my mind than I find it, even if I'm such a hyper aware person, hyper self aware person, right? That's the downside of being hyper self aware. You self criticize too. And
Yeah,
imposter
like
syndrome, because,
even the
yeah,
term lose your mind, right? It's like that just seems
yeah,
so unkind to you. What does that even mean, lose your mind, right? Like is it like starting to have a panic attack? Is it like starting to have these bad thoughts? Is that really losing your mind, or is it just like sort of living with this experience that we are living with?
exactly. So it's one of those things where it's so hard to discern some days. I don't know, some days, especially with that crazy ex, like when I say that that was a crazy ex-girlfriend, that was, the things that you watch on TV, like, oh, you have the crazy ex-girlfriend, like that. eh, Holy crap. Like it was, I didn't think I'd ever experienced that. She basically did it almost exactly what my main trauma did to me. The same exact wounding, this almost the same exact way too, belittling, all this like invalidation, all of that, all of it, all of it, all of it. So I basically had to live that twice over. From when I was young all the way up until I was in my 30s, that was happening to me. And I was like, okay, maybe I find my way in London. And that happens to me again in such a short amount of time. So it's concentrated. So that whole thing of losing your mind, losing my mind in those moments really did feel like I was losing it. It really did feel like that's it. There's something that snaps in your brain that just pings. And I'm like, there's no forward to this. There's nothing. There is just this. And it just feels like death every day. And then it slowly becomes, okay, can I deal with it? Slowly, one thing, not a big thing, the smallest thing. Which one's the easiest thing to deal with? Can I deal with that? I'm anxious about, maybe being in a crowd. Can I be in a crowd once? Be inside of it, just hear the noise, be in it. Don't have to talk to people. So I'm still that person who's awkwardly standing, not talking to anybody while people are talking. I'm still that dude. Like, but once I get someone talks to me, I yap. I can yap forever. And especially if it's a conversation that I like, right? So being in that, also navigating dating in London, it really, I don't recommend it. At 1 star. Like, fuck the
Well,
dude that
and
said that shit.
there's a big cultural difference, right? So, like, how was that
Huge.
for you, having moved from the Philippines to London and then trying to navigate like dating and culture and mental health and all of these things like intertwining?
It is an intertwined ball of mess. But I find honesty to be helpful because sometimes it's just for fun, right? Sometimes it's casual thing. Great, fine, you know. But I realized that I'm not one to be casual because I feel everything very deeply. So I end up caring about the person more than I should. I end up giving more than I should. I end up extending a hand and they eat the entire arm kind of thing. So it's one of those things where I don't really know how to answer that question, except for I have been doing my best to be as honest and as vulnerable as I can. And if that vulnerability kind of shuns people away, I have to accept that, even if my brain doesn't want to. that why this or why that, and it's still very angry kind of level of questioning myself. Why I'm not a, I'm a good dude. Like, I highly skilled, this and that, whatever, whatever. So it's messy for the most part. But I also take into consideration that I get to meet people, um, intimate, like whether intimately just means not even having sex, but like intimately means just having a nice date conversation, even if those people I may never see again because it doesn't really work out. Like I end up doing my best to be in the moments that we were in that same place together. And I had that experience with somebody, and I had this meal with somebody, and all of these different things. So it's really for me, and this has been me for the longest time, like forever. But the little things for me are the big things. It really is, you know, um, little gestures or little events, little things, like the tiniest things. Sometimes pleases and thank yous mean something because if you can feel the person say thank you and they really mean it, you'll feel it. And to me, it's like that matters. And I can't deny myself that anymore. I can't keep saying that empty words are okay because it became another topic in my own sphere recently, quite a bit of events that what is the difference between a good intention and a bad action? You know, what is the difference between, oh, I intended that.
I'm trying to even think about what that means. What is the difference between a good intention and a bad action? An accident?
Sometimes, right? When people kind of say, I didn't mean to do that,
Hmm.
I've learned to see things, and again, I might be wrong, as, but the action was fun. And again, I've had to own my mistakes, even in my marriage, previous relationships, wherein I did the exact same thing. I had to, basically cuff myself and like, shit, I did that too. And I had to own it to a point wherein good intentions don't mean you get to say the shit that you want so that and then if the other person gets hurt by it, I then justify that, but it's a good intention. No, but the action was fun.
Lack of
The words
insight.
were fun. Right.
Hmm.
The action was fun. The behavior was fun. Like whatever it was that became the hurtful thing, I had to own the fact that, oh shit, like even if I had the best of intentions, the purest of intentions, the thing that I said, the thing that I did, the thing that I moved with was wrong. And it took a lot of owning up. It took a lot of self vomiting, like I had to regurgitate a lot of the shit that I did in the past. And I'm like, oh, fuck, like I really, and almost to the, like, in my own head, and like this event and that thing, I said this or I did that. I still own a lot of resentment. I think that's just par for the course for me at this point. But and I also can't say that even my marriage is like, oh, so I've thought to myself, you think these things, you've owned the shit. Are you less resentful about that? No, like I still feel that. I'm very angry about how things turned out. I'm still I feel very deeply. But I said this to a friend very recently. I said, there's some days I wake up, I have thoughts of my ex-wife, and I'm happy, or I smile at it. I'm thankful, but that's one time out of 10 or one time out of five. Some days it's less. Some days it's more.
The best part is when you don't even think about your ex-wife.
Exactly.
For me, like I'll go like, "Oh my God, I just would have passed my X, Y, and Z anniversary, my whatever, marriage,
Yeah.
divorce,
Yeah.
who knows, like her
Yeah.
birthday." And if I don't even think about it, oh, what a joy.
It is a huge joy. Like there have been a few. I've had a few good moments of that too. Like oh shit, like I'm cool with it. And those are the days I'm like, oh, maybe I am making progress. And then life will be life. It'll make you trip up a little bit, and I'll remember again. And as much as I don't really stick to those memories anymore, which, I've moved past it, the thing about it for me at the moment, at least, is I'm still feeling, let's say, the resentment. I'm still feeling the, oh shit, that did happen. It doesn't mean that I haven't moved forward with it. I have been. I have been gaining a lot of, mending and tending to my wounds and all of this. But I do have to acknowledge the moments that I'm like, oh, like, that did kind of happen. And I guess with, I don't know if fresher eyes is even the right term for it, but with a different set of lenses, I guess, or a new set of languages to speak about. So I tend to look back on certain things. And there are certain things that I look back on and I'm like, it was really hell for me. Not the marriage, maybe more childhood stuff, more of where my initial woundings and my initial trauma came from. Um, it becomes this whole idea of, oh, like I'm not sure about that how I even survived that whole thing. I even realized recently that I forgot a lot of my like youth events, things that happened. I'm like, I don't remember. Friends would sometimes tell me, you remember this? I'm like, no. What did I do? Like, what did I say? Like, did I do anything stupid? It's hard. It's a conundrum because it's like, oh yeah, if you move forward, you become aware of it, but then you realize that you've lost parts of it too,
Hmm. Are you guys doing
completely.
trauma work in therapy?
Um, I guess I don't because the I'm not sure. I just end up
Are you talking about like specific traumatic instances?
yes, yes,
Okay, so you
yes.
absolutely are doing trauma work. I wonder if
Okay.
some of the memory stuff will get kind of kicked up. The dust will get kicked up. Sometimes that
I
happens.
thought that, but it not necessarily. There are moments that I'm like, every time I thought of like maybe, a habit that I have that I know I got from my dad, let's say, every time I end up wanting to say it out loud, maybe because of a friend of mine that I was with, and we were talking about it, whatever it is, I end up stopping myself. I'll bite my tongue. I'm like, I don't want to give him that good thing, or you've given me that good thing, or that habit that I don't mind in myself. You've given me that, but then it's like that's still fucked up. Like it was just a tiny speck in a gigantic thing of bullshit, right? So sometimes it's still kind of very, very raw, but I guess I've been dabbing it with a tissue for the last year and a bit. I've been dabbing it with certain things and trying to put herbs on the wounds and stuff, and hopefully it has been helping. And the mere fact that you were able to say that the insight that you're feeling is very different is a huge thing, because I'm still in this phase of, yes, I do want to learn all of these different things, but I'm also just living. I'm also or trying to, at the very least, right? I'm not like um I want to extremely delve deep. Like I didn't even know that I was really, because I read into, let's say, DBT stuff. I read into a little bit. I read the stuff, some of the skills in it, and all these things, and I set aside. I was like, okay, those are good things to know, but I didn't delve deep. I didn't even know that I was doing some of the skills already when I read it. That's why when you were also like you were doing the skills, I'm like, I didn't, in the beginning, I didn't know. I wasn't sure, but it was something to almost pat my own back, or like console my own thing. And that was the other thing, is discovering that no matter how hard I try, let's say pertaining to my work and my martial art and stuff, I've been trying to, last year was like, I want to build a small team, will help me with seminars, help me with this. it's basically disbanded. It's basically it didn't work out, and everything in my life led to me having to deal with things on my own, and it broke me again from that, and like really having to experience that whole thing of like, oh shit, like being in London, not having my my old school support system, like friends and my best friend and all of these people, not being in my own country too. I still haven't visited home. Um, 9 years.
I was gonna
Um,
ask you if you ever wanted to move back. Are you planning to stay permanently where you're at?
no, well. I want to be able to at least get my citizenship here and be able to move about a bit, just because I hopefully I get to process the dual citizen type thing. But I've also been planning to go visit home this year, and I've had to accept the fact that I'm not seeing family. Not one. I have a big family. I'm not seeing anybody. Like I want to see my friends. I want to see the people that you know help me be where I am. I want to be in the beach. I want to, just experience the country for what it is, experience the people that I do love, for who they are and how they've changed, and the families they're raising, and all of these things. And I've missed so many birthdays. I've missed so many, baptisms and christenings and of their children. And I'm like, I can't go home because my brain still says it's a war zone. It's chaos. I can't. So it's really been an intentional, very, very intentional thing of really trying to step out into somewhere I'm not comfortable with. Most of the things I'm doing now, I'm not comfortable with. In my videos, I started talking in my videos, voice overing, sometimes filming myself talk and stuff. It's still very like I cringe at the thing, but it's one of those, if you don't do it, then someone else will. And if someone else will, it's not going to benefit you at all.
My
So,
my husband told me it's cringy to worry about being cringy.
that's huge. Yeah, it is cringy to worry about being cringy. That is very true. That is very true. That just stopped my whole fucking argument. But that is true. I can't say anything about that. That's true. Because yeah, it's such a difficult thing to just do. So I ended up, me being me, and one of the things I really come to realize and accept is like I'm not an extremely competitive person, but I also don't like sucking at the thing that I do or whatever it is, from video games or martial arts or smoking weed. I got to be the best one. It's like it has to be
Ah,
this thing of
okay, I marijuana is my least favorite drug in the world, so forgive me, but how does one be the best at smoking?
no,
Because
it's
I
not.
know how to be the best at drinking vodka, but I'm confused here.
No, the best for me. That's it's a funny thing because it's like one of those, when people will smoke with me and they'll, we'll smoke, and we'll keep smoking, and then oh, I'm good, and I'm still smoking. And to me, I'm like, but it doesn't really like
That
I
is
say that as a
competitive. That is competitive.
I say that as a joke. I say that as a joke. I'm really not competitive. Like when I do like even with my martial arts stuff, even with the things that I kind of um touch on, I want to be the best, but I don't need to shout from the hilltops. There's no need for me to be like, I need to prove myself. Maybe it's also because I'm proving it to myself, and I'm proving it to one other douchebag that doesn't really give a shit, right? That's the cost of me being good at what I do, is I will be able to help people. I will be able to even perhaps, if I'm lucky, change their lives, but I'm also not able to, or not able, but like I don't really have the drive to be like, oh, I'll compete or I'll be the best at this sport and I'll be, best at this thing. I'm like, the wisdom is enough for me. The knowledge and being able to connect with people and being able to help them with whatever it is that they're doing through the martial art, because it's like, again, it's like that whole thing about language. If I'm able to share that bit about how the martial arts became a language to me and helping me deal with my own theme, apart from even being in therapy, I'm like, maybe there's something in there, right? There's transmutation, there's like alchemy somehow, right? Sometimes pain can be transitioned into something else. Not all the time, but it's one of those things. Like this year, my rage that I still feel very bigly is trying to be different, is trying to be in this state of, okay, let's turn that into determination, or let's turn that into getting out there and putting myself out there, you know. That's why I'm also able to, I think, do a lot of the uncomfortable shit that I've been trying to do and not be cringy about it, not be cringy about being cringy about it, you know? And it's tough. It's one of those, what do I do about it? You know, I don't know what you end up doing about it. I mean, getting tattoos would always help, but
Yes, I have a really, really bad problem with avoidance. So you tend to, gut instinct is to fight, right? My
yeah,
instinct is to run. And they're like,
yeah.
and I have done that, like physically gotten out of cars and ran away from people on highways. Like, you know what I mean? So,
I mean, you did live in a van too, so
yes,
that's the biggest, that's the
that is
biggest thing about, but
and it
look
was
at you now.
wonderful, but now and it's hard to sit like it's hard to sit still in something now. It's
Oh,
very
yes.
hard. But
Yes.
I heard that you're working at self-validation, and that is like, oh my goodness, the hardest thing that we can do as people with borderline is like learning to self-validate.
It's so hard because it connect that to me connects to imposter syndrome. It's by oh, you're doing good, you suck in the same moment. You still fucking suck. It's like, oh shit, like which one of y'all do I believe? Maybe I believe both. You know, some days it's really crippling, and some days I tend to believe in it, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do another one. You know, and I'm really realizing that this imperfection in trying to figure this shit out is there's an art to it. There's an art to it that shapes change, words will change from person to person. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can be somebody who can paint a picture for some other person or be a gentler mirror, because God knows I was not a very gentle mirror. You know, I try to be now, but you know, it's one of those things where if I end up mirroring something and it's not received, I will stop. If it's received well, I will keep going. But if it's received with resistance, I will run that motherfucker down. You know, it's maybe it's still something I'm working on. It's because I still end up feeling bad about it. I still end up like, fuck, why'd you end up doing that? You know, maybe they needed you. But then if all of a sudden it was about me, you know, I'm dealing with their theme and then they make it about me, I'm like, yo, you crossed another thing and I'm not down for that. And it becomes this whole ordeal of where's the separation between being a teacher and being human. I will make mistakes. I will end up saying the wrong thing. I talk a lot of shit, you know, and the shit that I talk, sometimes I can back up. And sometimes when I get called out, I'll apologize for it. But it's that hated that word that you hated the last time, that radical honesty thing. Until now, I'm still very not cringy about it, but I'm like, I will do my best to be as honest as I can. But I still feel like, wait, there's still clouds of judgment. There's still so much doubt. There's still a lot of things that I can't really accept from that, And I, I don't know. Again, I'm in this stage in my life where in a lot of my answers is I don't know. I'll see. I'll I'll try. I'll figure it out. It's very open ended. It's very vague, and it sometimes I get annoyed with myself. I'm like, why? Why can't we? Why can't we peg a thing? Why can't we? Why can't I do that? I don't. And again, I don't have the answer for it. I'm doing my best to.
This is where trauma comes back in, right? Because I don't know, I don't have the answer relates to trauma in this sense of I don't know because I don't know what I need to do for my perpetrator in
Yes,
order to stay safe. And then we
yes,
lose this sense of trust in ourselves because we were
yeah.
never
That's why
able to
doing things
develop
on exactly. That's why even doing things on my own is still a fucking challenge. You know, I realized that I don't have, or I didn't have, a lot of skills for life. A lot of the insights and a lot of the self awareness and all these different things, yeah, they're great for people to utilize, for people to, talk to me and, oh, I get you kind of thing. But it's hard for me because, okay, now I have to pay taxes. Now what? It's like, I have to fucking, like, do I just keep being this thing that it hustling becomes a very difficult thing and I can't work for other people because I end up, you know, injustices anger me. So when I see injustices in workplaces and I see injustices in inequalities and certain things, I'm like, I speak up, and it's not always good because that speaking up part is also me being the troublemaker, me, I would, it's like the idea of like the pot don't stir itself. I will stir that pot, but it usually means at my cost, at my expense rather, you know, it's not at the expense of anyone else. It's like I do end up maybe sabotaging certain situations, um, because maybe my impatience is very much in that moment or whatever it was. So I don't know how you would even deal with those or how you even deal with those things. But because the thing is, right, I've been watching you from the stories and Instagram and stuff from like the time that you got the house, that you guys got married, and I'm like, damn, that's huge. Like it's huge. And you have no idea how many times I fucking clap for you every time I see it. And then I'll see the bad sides that you'll share. And I'm like, it's still the same. It does not change. It does not even waver or wane. It's still the same gravity for you because I can see it in your eyes. Sometimes you'll say something, or sometimes in your words, I'll feel it. I'm like, yo, I guess the same level of shit. It's just a different day. It's just a different set of tools that you have with you now, albeit more comfortable tools, I must say. Your house looks amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, no, and it's yeah, I would have sworn 5 years ago that I would be like more stable now, right? Like, because I do when I'm happy, I am happier, but
Mm,
when I am sad, I'm just as sad, if not sometimes more
mm,
sad, because when you finally get something that feels so good, when you finally have a partner that's supportive, that understands the skills, that wants to be there with you, then in the bad moments, I feel more bad because I'm like, look at everything that you have to lose now. Or like, how could you be this much of a piece of shit to have somebody who's so good and still feel like this? Or, right? It doesn't change. And
it doesn't change.
it maybe looks different, but this is the part of borderline is like it is persistent across the lifespan. Yeah, I am safer. I am safer now. That is 100% um, true, but I'm not safer because of my home or my husband. I'm safer because I've had 2 more years of doing the work and I've had two
Yeah,
more years of sobriety or whatever it is. So life is better in that way, and maybe I don't have as many borderline symptoms in that way. I don't know. I think I do, but it's weird because you would think that it wouldn't be like that, right? Like you would think that if you're
yeah,
clapping for someone more, then you wouldn't see the eyes and read the things. And
exactly.
that's just not how it
But
works.
for me, it's I see it as well, at least for me at the moment, because you know my ship has no anchor at the moment, right? I'm I'm basically somebody who's locked in a shoebox but adrift everywhere else, right? And it's and I find that I'm also not much of a like I'm somebody who I don't know if you watch. Do you watch Reacher on Amazon? So there's something that was said there. It's actually a pretty good show. Um, that said, he was like, there are some people that are uh, more drawn to the campfire, and there are some people who are just designed to roam around. And he was like, in his story, in that story, in that show, it's like I'm definitely the person or the descendant of the person who roams around a lot. I've come to realize, and I think that's been me for a while. Like don't get me wrong, I like traveling, I like this, but I also like roots. I like the ground. I like to be able to kind of like plant that feet firmly into a space that I know that is mine. And I've not had that, right? So it's one of those things where I question myself, am I on the right track? Am I even on a track? I sometimes feel like I'm just walking on fields. It's the train tracks are right there, but I'm like, just aimlessly wandering and not knowing where this all goes. And I think it also hit me because last year I hit 40. So apart from everything going shit, right? And my mind being very, very bad at those moments in time, I turned 40 basically with no anchor to my past, like my friends and stuff, like those anchors were not here with me, right? I'm 6,000 miles away from those people. I basically also had a crisis of, and I don't know if you experienced this too, but um, you're this now, you're this age, you're 40. What have you got to show for it? You're still fucking losing your mind. You're still unsuccessful with your work, and some people remind me, what's your measure of success? I'm like, I know I've been successful in helping people. And I think I've redefined it this year, but I also want my work to start working for me rather than me keeping on doing the grind and working for it. And every time I say that, even as I say it now to you, it sounds like I'm being selfish. And it still kills me a little bit inside every time I kind of think about that. It's tricky. It's a tricky thing to navigate because I have people that have told me, that you're doing such amazing work, and the people that you've touched are people that will remember you for the rest of their lives and all that stuff. But like, I'm trying to be more okay. I need that, or I need this, or I want that. So little things, again, little things are big things. I ended up like, you know, changing up a wardrobe. I buy articles of clothing from brands that I like. Little extra money out there, little extra money out here. Maybe I buy myself a little thing that I like. And that feels good. It feels, um, sadly, it feels like a warm blanket that someone else should have given me, but I'm giving it to myself. And that is, as you said earlier, that self validation is extremely painful. It is still extremely painful. Um, I'm not sure how that works some days. Do I pat myself? You know what I mean? Like, and again, it becomes this thing of like the personality bully in my head's like, what? You're just gonna pat yourself in the back? You think you're all that? I'm like, some days I do, motherfucker. Like, what? And it's hard because even if I know that and I get to say that to myself, I don't get to experience it fully because there's still that thing that holds you or holds me back or maybe pushes too far forward. I'm like, I just want to be here right now, chilling, like just bask in the work that I've done. No, you got to keep grinding. That's why my therapist always says you over process things and you need to be easy on yourself. He says that a lot. He tells me that. Oh well, since he started telling me that, he's been telling me that quite a lot. It's one of those things where I am pretty hard on myself because and I've realized that it's also not my hardness, it's someone else's. Um, but I've learned how to speak that way to myself forever. So it's one of those things where I'm already not, let's say, financially successful. Maybe the work is really great. Maybe as an artist, I'm doing good things, but there's always that but. And I catch myself. I try and try not to say the but. But then some days you stumble. Some days I hit my face flat on the floor again. I'm like, fuck this thing. And it becomes such a horrid feeling because on the one hand, I open the door to my students and they love it. I love them. They love me back. But close the door, lost completely, adrift somewhere. I don't know where. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm headed. So when you asked earlier, is London space I want to live or is the UK space I want to live? Well, no, I've thought about wanting to live back home, Asia at least, somewhere where hearts are warm and, beaches are also very nice and stuff. And this thing of transactional people maybe are less. I find that being in the big city like London is transactional people are 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, right? And you find a one, two person people that will value you for you. And I'm like, I don't want to let you guys go, like even just as homies. But then, like, where is that? And again, it's like that whole thing of like, people talk about communities, people talk about this and that, like, you want to build a community. I'm like, why build it's a community to me. When people talk about communities, it feels like a clique. It feels like it's not what a community is supposed to be. To me, at least, my definition of community is anybody. You're fucked in the head. You're, whatever it is, come through. We'll hang out. If you say some bullshit, we'll call you out. And
Is that
if
what it's
it,
like back home for you? Like in the Philippines, is it more of like that? Like anybody can come in and be family? Because I've never experienced what you're talking about, where like to me, community is everybody. Like I've never experienced that. I've always experienced like that you have to work really hard to sort of create a community. And even if you're like in the same neighborhood with someone, that doesn't mean that you're in
your
community with
community.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it's a different thing because in the Philippines, I think it's more obviously in the Philippines, there is still cliquish things, a lot of like different types of people, and people won't want to hang out with certain people and all of these things. But I think as a culture, Filipinos are just more welcoming.
Yeah.
There's that idea of I don't know you, but here's some food.
Yeah.
It's always the picture that you know that I always remind myself and I always see in my head is like, I don't know you. You might be a bad person, but here, come in, welcome, come to my house, and have some food with us. Even if that person doesn't stay, I think it is an underlying thing. It's not really about the community, it's about what the people are like. So yes, there are still different cliques, there are still different communities, 100%, especially now in the Philippines, where the internet is widespread and we all basically are starting to learn the same things, and distance doesn't seem to kind of matter as much in terms of clickbaity things and things that actually work and stuff. So definitely it's still something that you said you have to work really hard to develop that community, and you definitely have to be damn sure that these are people that you can trust and rely on. But I guess it's also just part of being Filipino. It's being able to speak to somebody, whether or not they're even impoverished. They'll embrace you and they'll welcome you, and you know the last dime they have, here's my last candy, kind of, you want it. It's like, and I suppose a lot of that is trauma too. A lot of that is people pleasing ways too. But the culture is carrying, and it's really not like that in this town. Um, so when I open myself to people, I feed people, like, I all this, and I end up, like, again, it's like that whole thing of like, here, like, oh my God, like, why does it feel like it's not coming back? You know, um, that's a sad thing. That's a sad reality. But um, and again, it's one of those cases where if you want to see that change, you got to be that change. But if you are going to be that change, you got to accept the bullshit because I, it's not going to be a downhill thing. It's not going to be an easy breezy thing. It's extremely hard. Like until now, I'm like, can someone just adopt me? Like, I swear I'm a good vibes. You know what I mean? Like, I swear to God, I can cook or something, I can offer good vibes, at the very least, I'll bring weed. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where I'm, but I guess where I am at the moment, that's kind of like one of the things that, whether you call it um, networking or whether you call it me just putting myself out there, it's one of the things that I have been trying to do. I've been trying to just put myself out there and kind of, it's like in the classroom of like me, kind of, but still awkwardly not talking to anybody, just standing there until somebody talks to me, kind of thing. And, you know, hoping for the best some days. And it's hard. It's such a painful process. I can't say that it's pleasant. Some people are like, "Oh, I like that feeling." I'm like, "It's not fun. It's
No,
not fun.
it is
Like
not fun.
it's so painful, especially when it feels like we already feel so much. And it feels like when I open my hands to embrace a person, I'm embracing their entirety. It's not about surface area type stuff of like, "Oh, Jay, what's up, bro?" Like, no, I'm hugging you because I'm here. I'm switched on. I'm with you. And I can't switch that off in myself because of the way that you know BPD people are multitudes. We are multitudes and multitudes of emotion, in which if I'm I'm trying to do is transmute it in such a way where it's just real rather than the toxicity that we have gotten used to too, right? Rather than, oh, but I'm right, you're wrong, or in your case, it's I'm out the fucking way, right? Or in my case too, it's dissociation. I didn't realize I dissociated half my fucking life. I didn't know. I didn't even know I had anxiety until I basically got into therapy. Or no, actually, our conversation, actually, the last episode, actually, I remember. Like there were certain things that I've come to accept of myself, which I think is a huge thing. Um, But more than that, I think it's even shedding a light to the thing I didn't even know existed. I didn't know I was dissociating until I was in therapy. When we were talking about it, I'm like, oh fuck. There was that, oh shit. And it started spinning, the world started spinning. I'm like, I've been dissociated this whole time. I know half the fuck was going on. My marriage broke down, all these things I couldn't operate because I wasn't there, you know? It was one of those things where it numbed the pain somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. Therapy is really good for teaching us the things that we never knew. We never even knew about, and then learning like we have to apply them to ourselves, right?
So
So,
when you run away, I have a question. When
mhm.
you run away, do you also dissociate with it?
No, I'm pretty
No,
clear and intentional about like the
the
second I
running.
feel it, I need to get the fuck out. But
It's interesting.
because I don't physically run like anymore, like I used to like physically take off sprinting from places. It didn't matter where I was.
Oh shit. Okay.
But
Okay.
because I don't do that anymore, my avoidance is more just like, I'm not talking to you about this right now, and like go upstairs and like sit on the floor in like the bathroom somewhere and start
Yeah.
journaling. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think I
That doesn't
dissociate
sound
in
like
that moment.
dissociation though.
Mm-mm. No.
Like even now, there are days that I'll suddenly, not now, but like, in the last year, let's say, there are days that I'll walk out to like, okay, I'll buy a particular thing in a shop, right? Maybe some chips or whatever, munchies. Sometimes they'll come back. I end up buying a pack of tobacco. I'm like, I said munchies. What the fuck am I doing? I'll go out and I'm like, oh, I'll buy munchies. I'll come back with like whatever, like a fizzy drink or whatever. I'm like, what am I doing, dude? Like, what is this thing? So it's really difficult to kind of. So it's one of those practices that I've been really trying to do, which is when I feel that, I'm like, I need to feel the ground. I need to feel the ground. I need to feel where I'm at. I need to know where me is at the moment. Sometimes I'll walk and I'll get, maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of walk, and I'm like, I don't know where I am because the whole time I'm just dissociated. Yeah, I'm
And then
looking
you have
around.
to
Yeah.
turn around and walk back home.
Yes. Yes.
I guess you can take an Uber since you're in the city. They
Yeah, I do Uber, or sometimes I'll end up riding the bus back. But like it's one of those things. I'll turn and look at my like I'll look at the map or whatever. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm this far from home. Like what am I doing, dude? Like, it's one of those things where that's also why I really appreciate like, activities like longboarding and surfing and all that. Because it forces you to be in that moment. Because if you don't, you'll die. If you don't, the road will eat you, the wave will eat you. If you don't, you know, that's why fighting is also the same for me. If you're not in that moment, you'll get socked in your face. And that's such a, again, it's one of those things that I didn't know I was already trying to get away from that mode that I do, that I didn't, know that was happening. My subconscious was doing that for me. But therein lies what I've realized. And I'm like, if that's the power of our subconscious, what if we knew? What if we knew how to control our subconscious and getting to do that? So one of the things that I'm trying to do with my training and my art and all of these things is to do that or explore that with people. Is what if you knew the bullshit and the good things, and you're aware of the skill, you're aware of the pressure, and you're composed? Are you able to create magic? Are you able to create this alchemizing thing? Is it something that you're able to create something out of? Because the biggest thing for me in my practice and the art that I teach is I don't want to install a doctrine in you. I want you, whoever you are, to come out. That's the biggest thing that I teach people. That's the biggest thing that I explore people with is I don't want my style. No, it's a set of principles. It's a backbone so that you can freely come out. And I suppose a lot of that is to do with how I experience life. And the more that I link it to the art, the the better it is for me to feel like, okay, this is for something. Everything I'm going through, everything I'm trying to figure out is for something bigger than me. Because I can't, for the life of me, can't keep living in such a space where I end up shitting on myself just because I didn't know what else to do, you know? And I'm like, I want that to change and I want it to be something. And this year, it's 25 years of me teaching martial arts and, 16 years of fluid tactics. And I'm like, okay, it can't just be about the fighting, you know? Are you good for time?
Yeah, I do have to wrap it up, but
That's okay. We'll wrap it up.
you said something that stood out to me, and now I can't remember what it was. Oh, relating, pulling yourself out, like
Yeah.
in the art, and relating that back to kind of like, I don't know, I see that as consistent with that self-validation piece that we've been talking about, right? Like let yourself be seen, appreciate what you can do, just I don't know, that to me is there's a huge parallel there.
Is it? Yeah. Like that's something that I'm like, it's again a subconscious, whether subconscious or conscious thing that I'm like, I really want that to be a thing. And I don't know if that's a self-validation thing. And if you're saying that it is, I'm like, okay, maybe there is something to my subconscious that I still don't know because it's doing that for me. Right. I know my intentions for that. Um, why I want to do that, but I didn't know it was also to basically self-soothe or to kind of give myself again that proverbial blanket, right? Like in the cold kind of thing. It, it's hard to accept, man. Like, some days it's like that's some bullshit. Like
Hmm.
I wish it was not the case. But same as last time when we spoke, you were like, if you were given, you asked me if you were given, or we were talking about if you were given a pill, make it go away. I'm like, I still would say no. I still would say no because I have been able to create something that helps people. And I think if that sacrifices me, then okay, like I can't I can't say no to that. I can't turn my back against that, at least for now, because of the thing that I still am developing within that. Because there's a direction.
Hmm.
Even if I'm aimless, that's not aimless, and I can pour that into direction and I can pour that into something that might help other people and might shed a light on certain things,
Yeah.
um and being big feeling is helpful to that
Yeah.
because it creates a lot of good shit.
Mm, that's so beautiful. Paul, thank you so much for your time. I'm just so excited to
Thank you.
catch back up in, I don't know, maybe another year or two or shorter than
100%.
see, and hear about how therapy is going. I'm really proud of you that you're in therapy and you're doing the work. And
Thank you.
I mean, truly, like you seem calmer.
Yeah, I seem calmer. I agree about that. Still raging, but I am calmer. I
Yeah,
think it's also because I talk more shit now.
that's what we do. That's what we do.
It's openly talk shit. I think it helps the psyche.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Hi, listeners. Thank you for tuning in to the Bold, Beautiful Borderline podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode today. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your content. That is super helpful for me. It helps us find additional folks who want to listen to the show, want to feel seen, family members who want to learn, and partners who want to understand. If you want to follow along to more than just the podcast, Find us on Instagram at Bold Beautiful Borderline. Find me at Borderline from Hell, or head over to boldbeautifulborderline.com where there's information, resources, a place to leave a voicemail to be heard on the podcast, which I love, and just general content. All of that information can be found in the show notes. And if you want to get exclusive content, which is bonus episodes, journal prompts, worksheets, all sorts of extra stuff, sometimes videos of me with my hair very crazy with kind of impulsive borderline rants, head over to Patreon and consider becoming a member. That is super helpful with creating content that allows me to destigmatize BPD and all of the other wild mental health struggles that we discuss on the podcast. A huge thanks to everyone who joins on the podcast to share their story and just generally helps keep this thing alive. Especially my friend Corey Evans from the Evergreen Band. He produced and created the music that is the intro and outro for this show, as well as the cover art that was created by my husband, Talon Abbott. Their information is found in the show notes. All of the information discussed in the podcast is purely personal experience. This is not medical recommendations. This is not therapy recommendations. There's no producer for this show. It's all me.